there exists a sacred formula, hidden in plain sight within the ancient scriptures, that has unlocked financial freedom for generations of believers who dared to speak it with faith. Before we unveil this powerful truth, I invite you to subscribe to Jewish Wisdom and become part of a community that is rediscovering the spiritual keys to abundance that were meant to transform lives. And right now, write these words in the comments. Divine abundance flows to me now. Write it with intention. Declare it with faith. Let those words break open something that has been sealed in your life. What if I told you that your financial struggles are not random? What if the blockages you face, the doors that remain closed, the opportunities that slip through your fingers, are not accidents of fate, but symptoms of a deeper spiritual disconnection? The ancient sages understood something that modern society has forgotten. Prosperity is not merely about money, it is about alignment with divine flow. It is about positioning your soul in the current of heaven's endless supply. For thousands of years, there has been a particular psalm, one specific arrangement of Hebrew words, that carries within it a vibrational frequency of abundance. Not a magical incantation, not a superstitious charm, but a profound spiritual technology rooted in the nature of how the Creator designed the universe to function. This psalm has been whispered in synagogues, recited in homes, and guarded as sacred wisdom by those who understood its power. And today, you are about to receive it. But first, you must understand why it works. You must grasp the spiritual mechanics of abundance, because without understanding, even the most powerful prayer becomes empty ritual. The Creator did not design a universe of scarcity. Look at nature, truly look at it. A single apple tree produces hundreds of apples. Each apple contains dozens of seeds. Each seed can become a tree that produces hundreds more apples. This is the mathematics of heaven: exponential, generous, overflowing. Scarcity is not God's design. Scarcity is humanity's wound. The ancient Hebrew teachers had a term for this wound, ratzin, which means a blockage in desire, a constriction in the flow of divine will. When your ratzin is blocked, when your spiritual channels are clogged with fear, doubt, unworthiness, or misalignment, the abundance that heaven is pouring out cannot reach you. It is like standing under a waterfall with a closed umbrella and wondering why you remain dry. The water is there. The supply is endless. But you have created a barrier between yourself and the source. This is why the psalm we are about to explore is not just words to recite. It is a spiritual key designed to unlock what has been sealed. It is a sonic pattern that resonates with the frequency of divine supply. It is a declaration that realigns your soul with the original blueprint of prosperity that was placed within you before you were born. Every human being was created to thrive. Every soul was designed to flourish. But somewhere along the way, we absorbed lies about our worthiness, about the nature of money, about whether we deserve to receive. The sages teach that when God created Adam, the first human being, he placed within him the capacity for dominion, for stewardship, for abundance. The Garden of Eden was not a place of poverty. It was a realm of infinite provision, where every need was met before it even arose. This was not accidental. This was intentional design. And that same design, that same divine DNA, still exists within you. The blockages you experience are not permanent. They are removable. And the key to removing them has been waiting in the Psalms all along. There is a reason why the enemy of your soul works so hard to keep you in financial bondage. It is not because money itself is spiritual, but because financial freedom creates space for you to fulfill your divine purpose. When you are drowning in debt, consumed by worry, trapped in survival mode, you cannot fully step into the calling that heaven has placed on your life. Financial pressure is a spiritual weapon designed to keep you small, distracted, and ineffective. Breaking free from it is not optional if you want to walk in your full destiny. But here is what you must understand. This psalm only works for those who approach it with the right heart. If you come seeking abundance purely for selfish gain, for ego, for the worship of materialism, you will find the words powerless. But if you come seeking provision, so that you can be a blessing, so that you can fulfill your purpose, so that you can serve the kingdom of heaven more effectively, then you are aligning yourself with the very reason prosperity exists in the first place. God does not bless us just to hoard blessing. He blesses us to make us conduits of blessing to others. The revelation that is coming will shake the foundations of everything you thought you knew about prayer, about money, about your relationship with the divine. Prepare your heart. Open your spirit. What you are about to receive has the power to change your financial reality forever. But only if you receive it with faith, speak it with authority, and live it with integrity. The psalm that holds the key to unlocking financial abundance is Psalm 112. In Hebrew, it is known as Ashrei-ish, which means, blessed is the man. But this is not just any blessing. This is a comprehensive spiritual blueprint for prosperity that touches every dimension of human existence: financial, emotional, relational, and eternal. When the ancient scribes composed this psalm, they were not writing poetry. They were encoding divine law into language, creating a spiritual formula that would activate abundance in the lives of those who understood its depths. The psalm begins with these words: "Blessed is the man who fears the Lord, who delights greatly in his commandments." Right at the foundation, we encounter the first key to abundance: reverential awe of the Creator. The Hebrew word for fear here is yirah, which does not mean terror, but rather profound respect, sacred awareness, and alignment with divine order. This is critical because true prosperity cannot exist outside of alignment with the one who is the source of all supply. When you fear the Lord, you are acknowledging that He is the provider, not your job, not your skills, not your connections. This shift in consciousness is the first unlocking. Then comes the second element: delight in His commandments. The Hebrew word for delight is chafetz, which carries the meaning of desire, pleasure, and joy. This is not about grim obligation or religious duty. This is about finding genuine pleasure in living according to divine wisdom. Why does this matter for financial abundance? Because the commandments are not arbitrary rules. They are the operating system of the universe. When you align with them, you align with the flow of creation itself. You stop working against the current and begin moving with it. Now the psalm reveals the promise: his descendants will be mighty on earth. The generation of the upright will be blessed. Wealth and riches will be in his house, and his righteousness endures forever. Here is the revelation that changes everything. This is not just about you. This is about generational blessing. This is about creating a legacy of abundance that flows to your children and your children's children. The ancient Hebrews understood something profound. Prosperity is meant to compound across generations. One righteous person walking in alignment with divine principles can break cycles of poverty that have existed for centuries and establish patterns of blessing that last for ages. But notice what the psalm says: wealth and riches will be in his house. Not might be, not could be, will be. This is a divine guarantee, a spiritual law as reliable as gravity. When you position yourself correctly, when you align with the principles encoded in this psalm, abundance becomes inevitable. It is not about luck. It is not about circumstances. It is about spiritual positioning. The Talmud, the great repository of Jewish wisdom, teaches extensively on this psalm. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, one of the greatest mystics in Jewish history, said that this psalm contains within it the secret of Parnasa, which means livelihood or sustenance. He taught that every letter, every word, carries a specific spiritual frequency that opens channels in the heavenly realms. When you speak this psalm with kavana, which means focused intention and deep awareness, you are not just reciting words. You are activating spiritual forces that move on your behalf in dimensions you cannot see. The psalm continues: light dawns in the darkness for the upright. He is gracious, compassionate, and righteous. This is the answer to financial darkness. To those seasons when you cannot see a way forward, when the bills pile up and the solutions seem impossible. The promise is that light will dawn. Not through your own striving, not through your own cleverness, but through divine intervention activated by your alignment. And notice the character qualities mentioned: gracious, compassionate, righteous. These are not optional. These are the spiritual conditions that allow abundance to flow. Greed blocks abundance. Selfishness constricts it. But generosity, compassion, and righteousness open floodgates. Here comes one of the most powerful verses in the entire psalm. Good will come to him who is generous and lends freely, who conducts his affairs with justice. This is the paradox of kingdom economics. The way to receive is to give. The way to be filled is to pour out. The Kabbalists teach that the Hebrew letter UDE, which is the smallest letter in the Hebrew alphabet and represents a hand giving, is the first letter of God's name. This is not coincidence. The very nature of God is giving. When you give, when you lend freely, when you conduct your business with justice and integrity, you are reflecting the image of the Creator. And when you reflect His image, you attract His provision. The ancient rabbis taught that there are three types of givers. The first gives reluctantly, feeling loss with every coin released. The second gives willingly but expects return. The third gives joyfully, knowing that in the spiritual realm, the act of giving creates space for receiving. This third type of giver activates the full power of Psalm 112. They understand that money is not something to clutch, but something to circulate. Not a possession to hoard, but a tool to bless. Then the psalm makes a promise that demolishes the spirit of fear. Surely he will never be shaken. A righteous man will be remembered forever. He will have no fear of bad news. His heart is steadfast, trusting in the Lord. His heart is secure. He will have no fear. This is the inner peace that true prosperity brings. Not the fragile confidence of someone whose security depends on their bank balance, but the unshakable trust of someone whose source is the eternal one. When you know, truly know in the depths of your being, that your provider is not the economy, not your employer, not market conditions, but the creator of heaven and earth, you walk in a dimension of peace that the world cannot touch. The final verse delivers the ultimate promise. He has scattered abroad his gifts to the poor. His righteousness endures forever. His horn will be lifted high in honor. Here is the completion of the cycle. You receive, you give. Your righteousness, your alignment with divine order, endures. And you are honored, lifted up, exalted. Not through self-promotion, but through divine elevation. The Hebrew word for horn here is karan, which also means ray of light or power. Your influence increases. Your capacity expands. Your impact multiplies. All because you understood and activated the principles hidden in this ancient psalm. Now that you understand the spiritual foundation, the question becomes, how do you activate this psalm in your daily life? How do you transform ancient words into present-day breakthrough? The answer lies in understanding that this psalm is not meant to be read casually or recited mindlessly. It is a spiritual practice, a daily discipline, a sacred technology that requires intention, focus, and faith. The first practice is to recite Psalm 112 every morning before you begin your day. The ancient sages taught that the morning is when the gates of heaven are most open, when divine mercy is most accessible. In Hebrew tradition, this time is called Zeman Ratzon, the time of favor. When you speak this psalm in the morning, you are setting the spiritual frequency for your entire day. You are declaring alignment. You are activating abundance. You are positioning your soul to receive. But do not just read the words. Speak them out loud. There is power in vocal declaration. The Hebrew tradition teaches that speech is creative force. God spoke the universe into existence. You are made in His image, which means your words carry creative power too. When you speak Psalm 112 with conviction, with faith, with authority, you are not just repeating someone else's prayer. You are releasing your own declaration of alignment with divine prosperity. Here is the second practice, and write this in the comments right now. I am aligned with divine abundance. Write it, speak it, believe it. This is not positive thinking. This is spiritual positioning. You are declaring a reality that exists in the heavenly realm and calling it forth into your physical circumstances. The Kabbalists teach that there are four worlds: the world of action, the world of formation, the world of creation, and the world of emanation. Your declaration in the physical world of action creates a resonance that reaches all the way to the highest world of emanation, setting in motion forces that will manifest as breakthrough in your life. The third practice is what the sages called tzedakah, which is often translated as charity, but actually means righteousness or justice. Before you recite the psalm, give something. It does not have to be money, though it can be. It can be time, service, encouragement, resources. But give something with the intention of being a conduit of blessing. Remember what the psalm says: good will come to him who is generous and lends freely. This is not a suggestion. This is a spiritual law. When you give first, before asking for anything, you demonstrate faith. You prove that you trust the source. And heaven responds to that level of faith. Many people struggle financially because they have the equation backwards. They think, when I have more, then I will give. But the kingdom operates on a different principle. Give, and it will be given to you, not as manipulation, not as a transaction, but as alignment with the generous nature of the Creator Himself. The fourth practice is to study the psalm, not just recite it. Take each verse and meditate on it. Ask yourself, am I living this truth? Do I fear the Lord? Do I delight in His commandments? Am I generous? Do I conduct my affairs with justice? This self-examination is critical because the psalm does not work through magic. It works through transformation. As you align your life with the principles it contains, you become a different person. And that different person attracts different results. There is a story told by the ancient rabbis about a merchant who was on the verge of bankruptcy. He had tried everything: better business strategies, longer hours, new markets, nothing worked. In desperation, he went to his rabbi and asked for help. The rabbi gave him simple instruction. Every morning for 40 days, recite Psalm 112. And every day, before you recite it, give something to someone in need. The merchant was skeptical but desperate enough to try. For 40 days, he faithfully followed the instruction. On the 37th day, a business opportunity appeared that he had never imagined. Within months, he was not only out of debt, but thriving beyond his wildest expectations. When he returned to thank the rabbi said, "I did not save your business. You did. By aligning yourself with divine principles, you opened channels that had been blocked. The provision was always there. You just needed to position yourself to receive it." The fifth practice is to combine the psalm with visualization. As you speak the words, wealth and riches will be in his house. See your home filled with abundance. Not with greed or materialism, but with the joy of provision, the peace of sufficiency, the freedom to bless others. The ancient mystics taught that imagination is a spiritual faculty, a bridge between the seen and unseen realms. When you visualize while speaking the psalm, you are creating a holographic template that the universe works to fill. This is not New Age philosophy. This is ancient Hebrew wisdom. Abraham visualized descendants as numerous as the stars, before he had even one child. Joshua visualized the walls of Jericho falling before they crumbled. Your imagination, sanctified and aligned with divine will, is a tool of manifestation. The sixth practice, and this is crucial, is to remove blockages of unforgiveness, bitterness, and resentment from your heart. The Talmud teaches that the gates of abundance cannot open when the gates of the heart are closed. If you are holding grudges, nursing wounds, refusing to forgive, you are creating spiritual resistance that blocks the flow. This does not mean you excuse injustice or allow abuse. It means you release the energetic weight of bitterness so that you can move forward. Forgiveness is not for their benefit. It is for yours. The seventh and final practice is to create what the Jewish tradition calls a ledger of blessings. Every evening, before you sleep, write down 3 financial blessings from that day. They do not have to be large. A discount at the store, a bill that was less than expected, a gift someone gave you, a check that arrived. By focusing on what is already flowing, you train your consciousness to see abundance rather than lack. And what you focus on expands. This is not denying reality. This is choosing which reality to empower with your attention. When you implement these 7 practices consistently, something shifts. The psalm stops being words on a page and becomes a living reality in your life. You begin to notice opportunities you would have missed before. Ideas come to you in moments of prayer. Connections happen that seem orchestrated by an invisible hand. This is not coincidence. This is the activation of divine abundance through ancient spiritual technology that has been tested and proven for thousands of years. Let me tell you about Sarah, a single mother of 3 who discovered this psalm at the darkest moment of her life. She had been laid off from her job, her rent was 2 months overdue, and she had $53 to her name. She was sitting in her car outside a church, too ashamed to go inside, too broken to pray, when she opened her Bible randomly, and it fell to Psalm 112. She read the words, "Wealth and riches will be in his house," and something inside her, something that had been dead for a long time, flickered to life. She decided to trust the ancient promise. Every morning for the next 60 days, before her children woke up, she would sit in that same car and recite Psalm 112 out loud. On the 3rd day, a neighbor she barely knew knocked on her door and handed her $200, saying she felt prompted to help. On the 12th day, she received a call about a job opportunity she had applied for months earlier and forgotten about. On the 24th day, an unexpected tax refund arrived. On the 41st day, she was offered a position that paid twice what her previous job had paid. But here is what made her story truly remarkable. She did not stop practicing when the provision came. She continued reciting the psalm. She continued giving, even when it was just $5 to a homeless person or groceries to an elderly neighbor. And the abundance continued to increase. 2 years later, she owned her own business. 5 years later, she had created a foundation that helped other single mothers escape poverty. She became the living embodiment of the psalm she had spoken in faith during her darkest hour. The transformation was not just financial. Her entire being changed. The fear that had gripped her for years dissolved. The shame that had defined her identity melted away. She walked with a confidence that came not from her circumstances, but from her connection to the source. People would ask her, "What happened to you? You are different." And she would smile and say, "I learned that my provider is not the economy, my employer, or even my own abilities. My provider is the creator of the universe, and his supply never runs dry. This is what happens when you truly activate Psalm 112. It does not just change your bank account. It changes you. It reshapes your identity from someone begging for scraps to someone receiving from an infinite source. It transforms your posture from scarcity to abundance, from fear to faith, from doubt to certainty. And that internal transformation creates external results that seem miraculous to those who do not understand the spiritual laws at work. Now, I want you to pause and reflect on your own story. Where are you right now in your financial journey? What blockages are you facing? What fears are you carrying? What lies have you believed about your worthiness to receive? Write this in the comments, not the specific details, but simply this: I am ready for my financial breakthrough. Write it as a declaration. Write it as a commitment. Write it as an act of faith. Because the moment you declare readiness, heaven begins to move on your behalf. The ancient teachers say that there are three types of poverty: poverty of resources, poverty of spirit, and poverty of connection to the divine. You can have money and still be poor if your spirit is impoverished. You can have opportunities and still be stuck if you are disconnected from the source. But when you address all three dimensions, when you align your resources, your spirit, and your connection to God through practices like Psalm 112, you step into a realm of abundance that is comprehensive, sustainable, and unstoppable. There is something you need to understand about the nature of financial blockages. They are not random. They are often generational. Your grandmother's scarcity mindset can affect your bank account today. Your grandfather's dishonest business practices can create spiritual resistance in your financial flow. The sins of the fathers, the Bible says, can be visited upon the children to the third and fourth generation. But here is the good news. Righteousness also flows generationally. When you break the cycle, when you step into alignment with divine principles through Psalm 112, you do not just change your life, you change your lineage. You become the turning point. You become the one through whom blessing flows to generations yet unborn. I have seen this happen over and over again. People who come from generations of poverty, who were told they would never amount to anything, who inherited debt and dysfunction, suddenly breaking through into unprecedented levels of provision. Not through lottery wins or lucky breaks, but through consistent application of ancient spiritual wisdom. Not through get-rich-quick schemes or worldly manipulation, but through alignment with the eternal principles that govern abundance in the kingdom of heaven. The enemy of your soul does not want you to discover this. He does not want you to understand that you have access to ancient keys that unlock provision. He wants you trapped in cycles of lack, consumed by worry, distracted from your divine purpose, by the constant pressure of financial survival. But today, right now, as you receive this revelation, chains are breaking, limitations are shattering, ceilings are being removed. You are stepping into a new dimension of possibility. We have journeyed deep into the mystery of Psalm 112, and now we stand at the threshold of activation. Everything you have learned, everything you have received, must now move from information to transformation. Knowledge alone changes nothing. It is applied knowledge, lived truth, activated wisdom that shifts reality. The question is no longer whether this psalm works. The question is, will you work it? Will you discipline yourself to daily practice? Will you align your life with the principles it contains? Will you trust the ancient promise enough to stake your future on it? Here is the truth that must settle in your spirit. God is not withholding abundance from you. You are not being punished. You are not unworthy. The provision already exists in the heavenly realm. It has been allocated. It has been assigned. It has your name on it. But there is a gap between heaven's realm and earth's reality. And that gap is crossed through alignment, through faith, through consistent spiritual practice. Psalm 112 is the bridge. It is the ancient technology that connects you to what already belongs to you. The sages teach that every morning, a voice goes forth from heaven declaring, "Return to me, and I will return to you." This is not about religious performance. This is about relationship. This is about positioning yourself in the flow of divine love, divine generosity, divine abundance. When you recite Psalm 112, you are saying, "I am returning. I am aligning. I am opening myself to receive what you have been trying to give me all along." I want you to understand something crucial about timing. There is a Hebrew concept called baita, which means in its appointed time. Everything has a season. Everything has a moment of fullness. You may have been in a season of preparation, a time of testing, a period of refinement, but seasons change, and often, The shift happens the moment you align with divine principles through practices like this psalm. The breakthrough you have been praying for may be one declaration away. The provision you have been seeking may be one alignment away. The abundance you have been believing for may be one psalm away. Do not despise the simplicity of this practice. The most powerful spiritual technologies are often the simplest. Speak the psalm. Give generously. Walk in integrity. Trust the source. These are not complicated formulas requiring advanced degrees or mystical abilities. These are accessible truths available to anyone willing to believe and obey. The ancient rabbis said, "God loves the simple-hearted who trust His word." You do not need to understand every mystery. You just need to act on what has been revealed. Now, if you are truly serious about activating the full power of Psalm 112 and experiencing the comprehensive financial transformation it promises, we have created something specifically for you. The Jewish Wisdom eBook on abundant Jewish prosperity takes everything we have discussed today and expands it into a complete system of financial breakthrough, rooted in ancient Hebrew wisdom. This eBook reveals additional psalms for different financial situations, Kabbalistic practices for removing generational poverty, rabbinic teachings on wealth creation, and practical steps for implementing these timeless principles in modern life. The link is in the description of this video and in the first pinned comment. This is not just another book. This is a manual for financial freedom based on thousands of years of proven spiritual technology. But even if you do not get the ebook, even if all you do is take Psalm 112 and begin reciting it daily with faith and intention, you will see results. The psalm itself is enough. The principles it contains are complete. Your consistency is the only variable. Will you commit to 40 days? Will you give it 60 days? Will you make it a permanent part of your spiritual practice? The level of your commitment will determine the level of your breakthrough. I want to leave you with this final truth, and I want you to let it sink deep into your spirit. You were not created for poverty. You were not designed for lack. You were not meant to live in constant financial stress. The image of God within you is an image of abundance, generosity, creativity, and provision. When you walk in financial bondage, you are walking below your divine design. When you struggle under the weight of debt and scarcity, you are living beneath your spiritual inheritance. Psalm 112 is your invitation to rise, to ascend, to step into the fullness of what was always meant to be yours. The ancient Hebrews had a blessing they would speak over their children. May you be like Ephraim and Manasseh. These were Joseph's sons who received a double portion of blessing, who inherited abundance beyond what seemed possible. That is the blessing I speak over you right now. May you receive double for your trouble. May you experience restoration for every year of lack. May the windows of heaven open over your life and pour out blessings so abundant that you do not have room enough to contain it. May you become the answer to someone else's prayer as overflow spills from your life into theirs. This is not wishful thinking. This is prophetic declaration rooted in the ancient promise of Psalm 112. The righteous will never be forsaken. The generous will never lack. The one who trusts in the Lord will be like a tree planted by streams of water, bringing forth fruit in season, whose leaf does not wither, and whatever they do prospers. This is your inheritance. This is your destiny. This is your future. And it begins the moment you align with the wisdom that has been waiting for you in the ancient psalm. Go now and activate what you have received. Speak the psalm with authority. Give with generosity. Walk with integrity. Trust with certainty. And watch as the God who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills opens doors that no man can shut, creates opportunities that seem orchestrated by divine intervention, and pours out provision that exceeds your wildest imagination. Your season of breakthrough has begun. Your time of abundant harvest is here. Welcome to the life you were always meant to live. Welcome to the prosperity that has been waiting for you since before the foundation of the world. Welcome to the full activation of Psalm 112 in your life. The ancient key has been placed in your hand. Now, turn it, and step through the door into everything that awaits you on the other side.